Hi, this is Geert-Jan from the NetBeans team. In this short screencast I'm going to show you two cool tricks that you can use to help decouple your NetBeans platform application. The scenario we'll be using is based on a small NetBeans platform application that displays data coming from a data source. As so often, we have a node hierarchy displaying data. Since we're using the NetBeans platform, the work you need to do for creating this application is really minimal, since the menu bar, the toolbar, the window system, the plugin system, and very many other features come out of the box with the framework itself. When we look at the code that accesses the data source, we use, as is typically the case in the NetBeans platform, a child factory. The child factory generates a node hierarchy based on customers in a list, created in the createKeys method. However, there's a problem here. We have our data access code defined right within the classes that deal with the view of our application. It would be better if we would be able to separate the view from the data, and that's the first trick dealing with decoupling that we're going to look at in this screencast. We're going to start by creating a group of capabilities for dealing with customer objects. We will then define here in one place all the different capabilities that we want our customer object to have. In our view code, such as in our child factory, we will refer to this group of capabilities and retrieve whichever capability we need for a particular task. This approach also makes it easy to add new capabilities without breaking contracts, which would be the case if we were to define an interface here instead of using the lookup class. So here we're using composition rather than inheritance to construct the work that customer objects should be able to do. The first capability we want customer objects to have is the capability to query customer data from a data source. We start by defining a plain old Java interface containing a single method for reloading data. Back in our capability group, we create an implementation of our interface. The implementation of our interface is added to the group. The capability group is exposed into the lookup of customer lookup provider and exposed via the getLookup method, which must be implemented because we're implementing lookup.provider in this customer lookup provider class. Now, via getLookup, we can access the lookup of this class, and from there we can retrieve the capability that we need. Our data access code is now decoupled from our view code because, as you can see here, the developer of the view code doesn't need to know anything about where the data is actually coming from. All the view developer needs to know is that the customer has a query capability. However, when I'm developing this application in the office, I have access to real data from a database. When I'm working on this application at home, I don't have database access, so it would be handy to have some dummy data available, enabling me to continue working on the application at home. And this is the second decoupling tip I'd like to look at in this screencast. If we go back to the lookup provider, we see in line 31 that we're using a different lookup here within our lookup provider. Via lookup.getDefault, you have access to a service registry. Here, one implementation of a customer DAO class is retrieved from that registry. Depending on whether I am at work or at home, I can change one line of code, in fact an annotation, as you can see here in the JPA customer DAO implementation, which I have not set in the other implementation. i.e., I have not set that annotation here in the dummy implementation of the customer DAO interface. Now, since I'm at work where I have access to the database, the annotation will, at compile time, register this implementation in the meta-int services folder, which is the standard Java extension registry since JDK 6. The other implementation will not be registered there, since I define the annotation on only one of the implementations at a time. From there, the lookup.getDefault mechanism retrieves the implementation that I'd like to use. In this way, not only is the view decoupled from the data, but the data layer itself is decoupled. The reasons for doing this are completely functional and useful in application development, and I hope that this screencast has explained this very handy though somewhat hidden feature of the NetBeans platform.